What's up, everybody? Welcome back. You know we're going to get into the podcast. Let's talk about the brand that makes it possible. That's right. It's Black Rifle Coffee. As always, we're going to go over to their website. We're going to see what they have to offer. It looks like right now the first thing on their banner is Fuel for Heroes. You can join America's Coffee Club and get 30% off your first order with a subscription and ID Me verification. I think I've done this before. I think you just send in a picture of your ID card. There's a system in place to take care of this. I'm not totally familiar with it, but it works. Founded by veterans, supporting veterans, and heroes. Heroes. So you can start there. Just below that, I get people coming in every day at the coffee shop asking about what kind of beans, what kind of roast. Dark roast, light roast. This is the best place you could look at it. And obviously in real time there, I can't really tell them about this, but you could scroll all the way to the viewers left here. Silencer Smooth being the lightest roast, Gunship being right there next to it, or all the way to the right, the extra dark, Murdered Out, Beyond Black, Blackbeard's Delight, or you could set it right in the middle. This is the best tool to find out about the roasts, what they are, flavor profiles, all of those things. Apparel gear, coffee bundles, coffee sampler. I think we've gone through all of those things. Oftentimes I'll surf over here to the gear, though, just to see if anything new has come out mug-wise. I actually like these long-range carry bags. I don't know what people use this DACA pouch for, but who cares, People like to carry their stuff the way that they do. The Tac-to-Cock mug, who doesn't like a cock on a mug? I do. Sometimes I like it in the mug. It's really hard to say. Ooh, a dog collar, BRCC Tiger camo. You guys know the deal. If you want to support an amazing brand that allows me to do this podcast, go to blackriflecoffee.com. It's that easy. If you don't want to do that, keep living your life. Not that big of a deal. My guests, plural, today, both repeat guests. How do we begin? Should we go alphabetical? Sure. Henry Akins and Mickey Schuch. Henry, Rickson Gracie black belt. The single most uncomfortable roles I've ever had. He has the ability. Let me find something small on this table. Thumb drive. Think of this small section of the thumb drive. All of his weight on that, it sucks. I've traveled around the world going to his seminars. I advocate for people to do so as well. I learned an immense amount from them, and he's a great friend. So he's a jiu-jitsu guy. Actually, so is Mickey as well. So am I to a degree. We talked a lot more than just jiu-jitsu. So Mickey has been on before, once or twice, I believe. Carry Trainer, carrytrainer.com. Find him on his Instagram. He is a stringent advocate, not only for the Second Amendment and also for rights, but how about for responsible gun ownership and usage? Yes, something I can definitely get behind. He runs an event called S12 every year, I believe multiple times. And you're going to get a hell of a lot more than just shooting there. Everything from medical to a little bit of combatives, some camaraderie, the whole 9 yards. They happen to be in town visiting, as people should, on a Montana summer. And we took the opportunity to chop it up a little bit. We recorded this episode a few weeks ago. I don't even remember what we talked about, but I bet it was awesome. I do know there's a flashlight story in here that should be illuminating for people. No pun intended. Or is it? Episode 347 with Henry Akins and Mickey Schuch. Enjoy.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north or south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. You're cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
1, 2, 3.
I guess. Not everybody does that, I recently found out. And I guess if you do that and they're not ready for it, it's pretty awkward. Was the Rickson school, was it a 1, 2, 3 clap?
No.
Was there clapping at all?
No.
How did you focus? Because I've heard it's called a focus clap.
All right, guys, let's go.
Is that what it is, a focus clap?
I think so.
That's
1, 2, 3, go.
Or 3, 2, 1.
It's meant to get you all.
What happened was I started teaching seminars, and I wouldn't do the clap because I never did it, and people would literally
They look
just
at
sit
you
there and
awkwardly
wait.
like this with their hands out.
Like, can we go yet? Can we go yet?
Sounds
And I
like
just-
brainwashing.
So I had to start doing,
Do you go
It's,
1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1?
1, 2, 3.
All right, I've seen
It's
both.
like Pavlov's dogs,
You do like the clap.
I have to do it.
What do you guys want to talk about? Completely not planned podcast. But since you guys are both visiting the beautiful state of Montana, and we just had, how many calories were in that cookie with ice cream? 1,700?
1900.
But we'd split it.
Divided by 6.
1 spoon.
300 each.
Just
Fuck.
That was gross.
And cheesecake too, though. So
It wasn't gross.
No, it was just gross eating 1,900 calories.
We didn't. We split it by 6.
Yeah.
300,
Yeah,
and we left a little bit.
for
Just,
sure.
I think it made us feel better.
We weren't
like
incredibly
one bite.
gluttonous.
We left one bite of each one.
push it
I think.
away.
Just
Yeah. Mickey, what do you want to talk about? The great state of our union?
We could talk about all kinds of things. He and I were kind of chatting on that this morning for a minute.
First, though, did you watch the debate?
You know, I didn't watch it when it was on. I turned it on a couple days later and did
Why?
comedy.
No, why didn't you watch it when it was on?
I had no time for that.
You don't support America and the political system?
That debate, no. Did you watch it during?
Accidentally. I came home when it was about... So I missed the first 40 minutes, which I'll use other people's words, is where it got a little bit out of hand, where the stumbling and stuttering was at its highest. So I came in after that. But I did leave the TV on afterwards. I was doing some work on my laptop, and I would have bet every penny that I have that it was on Fox News because they were eviscerating him. And I looked up and it said CNN. Mm-hmm. Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I have never heard the left talk about one of their candidates like that ever.
Yeah, they cut his throat. Did
Holy
you watch it?
shit.
Well, I was having dinner with one of our good buddies, AG. Not your good buddy, but
Toe hole
mine-
flip-flops,
mine
no
and
big
Andy's good
deal.
buddy.
They make nice sneakers.
They make really good flip-flops. It's unfortunate you can't get a pair because you've been fired as a customer.
I have no comment on that.
Lifetime ban.
I don't have my Crocs on today. Otherwise, I'd pick them up for the
Throw 'em
camera.
on the table?
Yeah.
But I read a headline that they were actually going to be charging Trump with more charges for elderly abuse, and so I'm like, all right, I have to watch this now.
Where was that? What channel was it on?
It was on CNN.
okay.
Whatever that is.
I just watched it on YouTube.
Okay.
It was. At first, I was shocked that CNN was saying that, and then the more I thought about it, the only reason they're shocked is that they've ignored clear data in front of them because it didn't align with what they wanted to present.
That was so overtly obvious to anybody watching. You would lose whatever value you had, capital, as a news source.
Well,
if
I
you
get
tried
I
it.
get their theory, like, oh, if it came from, because let's be honest, Fox News is really a fan of rotating banner videos of Biden stumbling around. It's a problem that there's so many of them that it can fill up a rotating banner, or when his teleprompter doesn't work well or he loses himself speaking, which I have, for people who've never done public speaking, it's not as easy as you may think it is. And to put that on like a global scale, I mess shit up all the time when I public
Every
speak.
single thing the guy says is recorded.
100%. I would look probably not much better if you had a highlight reel of me trying to figure out what the fuck I was talking about in real time. But there was plenty of it was out there. They just dismissed it because it was coming from their... I'm just going to use Fox and CNN, even though there's like MSNBC and all that stuff. I get it. But Fox and CNN are like Axis. They're like, nope, it can't be real because it's from the right. And then they had the balls to sit there and pretend like they were surprised. I don't like that shit.
It's theater, right? News is theater. I think we forget sometimes it's all there to sell.
How many people do you
Ad
think
space.
realize it's theater? Percentage-wise, U.S. population.
I couldn't add a number to that, but I always hear, because I don't watch the news really, I always hear from people, my dad or older folks, like, you don't know what's going on. Right? You know, how would you know what's going on?
That's their reason to watch the news?
Yeah, but like we just spent 5 days up at your place in the hills. Like none of us know what's going on, other than like what we were doing or what we saw on Instagram or whatever, and we're all still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a weird thing that I don't need to know what the local civic events are. If I want to, that's cool. That might be my thing. I don't need to know what's going on in Ukraine. I don't need to. It might be cool to know, but I don't think you have to know.
Don't you want to know where your taxpayer dollars are going?
Well, I'm saying you might want to know that, and I think that's the thing, though. Like we get so wrapped around that where we think I need to pay attention to all this shit. It's impossible to know all of those things.
Yeah. Well, you were tied into, because you've been on before. Actually, you guys have both been on before. You were tied deeply into politics. You're the head of the DNC for the next 24 hours. What do you do?
That's funny.
I mean, what would you do? They're kind of at a place where I don't think the status quo, if they just continue to drive forward, I don't think that's going to work. But I also in my limited understanding, they have few options to choose from.
Sure.
That he would have to choose to back out, which apparently Joe Biden is the key holder for that.
Mm-hmm.
I had recently heard, and I wish Michael was here to look this up, that the only person that could actually go into his seat and they would not lose the ability to spend those fundraising dollars on that person would be Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they would lose that war chest. Some people have said they intentionally did the debate early so that if this did happen, they would have the opportunity, and Newsom's name is the one that is thrown out the most. What do you do?
I can't imagine that they would want to give that up because you can operate the White House with all of the staff that's there. He's a figurehead, right? I don't know anything about presidential politics on that level. I was more local stuff, but I can't imagine that they would be wanting to give up Biden's name. It's the best chance of winning.
Still?
I think so. I mean, look at, people will get mad at me when I say it, but look at the alternative too. He's just as polarizing, right? Do you guys love Trump?
No.
And it doesn't make me bad to say that. I would probably rather him. I know my portfolio looked better when he was president.
If you were to strip the candidates away, which policies do you align more with?
Guns. I like guns. I like the Bill of Rights. I think that
It's a pretty sweet document.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I think that we've lost our collective mind as a people. When I just was listening to some stuff the other day, the amount of people charged, threatened with charges for communicating their thoughts against the government in this country. There's tons of cases, or the weaponization of the FBI, the weaponization of IRS. That shit's very freaking scary.
Or the legal system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very scary. And it can be used very easily. And now with media and with social media, as we just saw with a guy we know, it can be frickin' directed against you in a heartbeat. And people pounce on that like the dogs that humans are. I think we need to be nicer to each other. I don't know how you legislate that, though.
So you're head of the DNC for 24 hours.
We're going to get a big sack of weed. And I'm sure you guys know some sweet reggae band that can come play. I think that we're not having conversations. Nobody's having it's I'm going to tell you why I'm right and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. There's no like, what are we trying to do here? And I also think that you and I've talked about this before. Our founders did the same thing. I just visited Aaron Burr's grave a couple weeks ago. Remember it?
Yeah,
Aaron
you posted
Burr?
that.
He shot Alexander Hamilton and killed him. And they were arguing over, I don't remember the specifics, you guys can look it up, but Burr was besmirched by Hamilton and the newspaper printed it, and Burr said, tell them to retract it or else meet me on the hill at dawn.
Pistol duel?
Yeah, and
Fuck yeah.
and they pistol dueled and he shot him and Alexander died the next day. But these are they were doing that shit. Now we can't even shoot each other.
It's a good way to settle things.
We were at the Capitol building
Mm-hmm.
doing a tour, which was awesome. We got to go all the way up to the top, the dome inside of a
That's
dome.
awesome.
Fucking artwork on the inside.
Stunning.
Holy cow. We go out on the top, and then they're walking us through, and there's a room that is used. I might be fucking this up, but I'm going to do the best of my memory. The Democratic Party, I believe, because I think the Republican Party has their own room, they will use this particular room for meetings. It's one of the first halls of Congress or the first Senate because there's no cameras or microphones in there, so they will have their private meetings in there. But in that room, one of the elected officials got so mad at somebody else and hit him with a cane so many times that he almost died in that fucking room.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Yeah. And I think that we think now that those guys sat around and sipped tea and hash shit out.
They probably did that too.
I'm not suggesting we should hit each other with canes or shoot each other, but now we can't even sit down. If you say something against the fill-in-the-blank community, I don't even want to say one because people will pounce on me. Just pick any community. Could be ethnicity, could be sexual preference, could be religious. You're a fucking bigot and a racist and a piece of shit. If you just have an opinion that doesn't say it's okay. You know what I mean? So I think that's a real problem. And the Democratic Party's proliferated a lot of that.
The Republican Party doesn't do a great job at many things.
I'm not stroking either one of them, but you said if I was DNC.
Yeah. What would you do with the candidates that you'd leave them in?
No.
Well, who would you put in?
Oh, God.
I mean, let's be honest. The fact that those are our two choices is not a great indication of the health of our system.
Well, that's the we the people problem, right? We look up to, I don't I don't know about you guys. I don't give a shit what some Hollywood actor has to say about the climate. I mean, maybe they're like a specialist. Like there's like you love finance. You study all kinds of stuff. So I value your opinion on that because you sit and read about the stuff. But you're a martial artist by trade. You're not a finance guy, right? But I would value your opinion. But we care like what this guy's got an Oscar or whatever. So let's give a shit what he has to say. I think it's messed up that we put credence into the opinions of people that should have no say so in our lives. Like, look at the DNC just did the Democratic Party just had all of these fundraising events for Biden, and it's all of the Hollywood elite, which whatever, they're court jesters. What the hell does that matter? And that we, the people, put credence into what these people think. Sean Penn said this about, this. Okay.
I'd be interested to hear what he says about like acting and the process of making a movie.
Sure.
I think the problem with the two candidates is they're so polarizing.
You do the same thing, Mickey. You're like talking to the
No,
side.
I can hear myself.
Maybe
I'm
that's 'cause
talking
your
loud.
Headset is
I'm
up
talking
higher.
loud.
How come we don't have a candidate that is going to, like, we need a candidate that brings people together?
Does that person exist? I don't know if there is a person that could do that.
I mean, I just feel like a divided nation is an easily conquered nation. And I feel like that's what's both of these candidates are basically going to create, right? I mean,
It's pretty polarizing.
if Trump wins, right, which I guess a lot of people are expecting or he's projected to based on the polls, I mean, it's going to be madness. It's going to be chaos. And if
They
he
said that
loses,
the first time, though. Was it madness and chaos?
well, January 6th, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was probably made into a much bigger deal than what it was, But
It was weird. I was thinking a lot about January 6th when we were walking around the Capitol building. We specifically walked right past that point or the location where I believe it was a woman protester was shot. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to see it online, the limited perspective, and then see it in person. Yeah, not a good look for our country. Not a good look for our country at all. My favorite new idea is presidential candidates between the two of them cannot have a combined age of over 100. Because we're at 157 right now with these two fucks.
It's not really that much, is it? I'm doing the math. Yeah,
Yes.
that's scary.
So you could have an 80-year-old, but you have to run against no older than a 20-year-old. 45 and 55, no problem. 50-50. I think we have to get some less recycled blood into our
There's a
political
point
system.
of diminishing return where wisdom and the ability to produce start to tip off. We were kind of just talking about that at lunch.
Yeah.
As we're getting older, that's rough.
Some of us are getting older.
You got the Dorian Gray mirror in here or something.
I mean, it's good to have that age, experience, and wisdom, but also having the young blood that understands the current state of the world.
That's true.
Right? Because especially things are changing at such a rapid pace with technology in the world.
It's insane to me that those are our candidates, which is why I was kind of make the point. It's the societal issue, which is why I think so many people say it's all rigged, which I don't believe it is, because if it was rigged, there wouldn't be an issue about him losing, right? They would just push and pull levers. I think you and I talked about this the other day, they certainly can be rigged. I've sat through recounts of ballots, thousands, tens of thousands of them, and it's boring as shit. It's somebody sitting there opening a thing, feeding it in, hour after hour, and then there's like a whole chain of custody of where they move the things to. Computer shit, not the same, but if it was just pushing buttons, they would just do it, and then it wouldn't, no big deal, right? But they're scared about losing. I say they like I'm an opposite of they. I identify as like a person that just wants to be left alone, so I don't want to say I'm one or the other.
I'm surprised you just said you identify as and finish that sentence. I never would have thought you would have said something like that.
I just did. As somebody that wants to be left alone. Leave me alone.
What box do you check on that?
The one with the circle and the cross. And Yeah, it's messed up though, man. Like you just said, somebody said to me the other day. You said, is there somebody that could bring somebody together? A guy said to me the other day, a family member of mine said, "Would you want your sons to emulate these guys?" And I started thinking about that. We're all about the same age. I wasn't voting age when Carter was in office, but I talked about it with my dad. He said maybe Carter was like the last guy that he can think of that was like a stand-up, like good man, like just a good human. Not maybe best president, but like...
What year was that?
What was that? 78, 79, 80, 81, somewhere in there? I'm not a political historian, but...
Those are my diaper years.
Yeah, we were kids, but like he was like a good person, and that's kind of a sad thing that we're like making somebody the leader of the free world that you like wouldn't want your son to look up to or your daughter.
Have you guys seen the recent resurgence of videos of Biden playing golf?
No. Is that he good? Can he crush the ball like you said?
Trump may have had a point on assessing his swing.
Mm-hmm. there's no way.
How would you have ever thought, like things you'd never hear in a presidential debate? I did not have sex with a porn star from one side, and the other one, I could beat you if you carry your own bag. Just two octogenarians essentially arguing about fucking golf.
Right. Yeah. Who eats more Metamucil? God, that was pretty sad. I don't golf, so a lot of those references were lost on me. I had to Google about the handicaps.
Yeah.
I know what it is, but I didn't know.
It's very hard to get a single-digit handicap.
Okay.
It's a lot of time dedicated. I have heard that Trump is just a voracious cheater on the golf course, which may help with his handicap. But he also plays a shit ton of golf. I don't think Biden does.
Not surprising at all.
Yeah.
Right?
So his the whole, you couldn't hit it 50 yards. I could hit it farther than you. I could beat you if you carry.
Do either of you guys golf?
I had a golf phase.
Did you?
In San Diego. It was fun. I would get up early, play around a golf, then go to work.
Were you any good?
Nah, not really. Average. A little bit below. Henry, how the fuck are you still fired up about jiu-jitsu after 30 years?
Still trying to figure it out.
I don't like that answer because I was hoping to have it figured out next week.
The cool thing is I get better every year. And so when you...
How is that possible? I was talking with Lee about this today. I just like, we were having coffee this morning. I'm like, how the fuck is Henry so far ahead that it feels like everything you do is a mistake? Like, what the fuck? And you're over there like, oh, I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't want to know what that looks like if you do figure it out.
I think like anything, right? I mean, there's just levels to the game. And you can see there's guys out there that make the best black belts in the world look like white belts. And so
who do you think would give you a run for your money at this point? Not like win, lose, but like skill level. It'd be like back and forth.
Well, I'm sure a lot of those guys, a lot of those top guys that are competing.
We're talking about super younger guys, though?
Yeah. No, I mean, and possibly some, former multiple-time world champions.
Yeah.
Do you want to say some names?
Well,
you want to start calling them out?
No, I don't.
I mean, the younger people are the young. Like, I get it. I mean, but it's also their full-time job. They're basically sponsored professional athletes. Like, you better be goddamn good if that's your actual job, if you're going to get paid to do that. When did you feel like you started to have a handle on it? Like, I get, not like I have this dial, but I can understand most of the broad concepts and can apply them in real time.
Probably about 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, I'd probably been a black belt about 5 or 6 years.
I was going to say, you were still...
Yeah. So I felt like I had a deep enough understanding of it that I could break apart most positions and most situations and start to like kind of reverse engineer everything. And I could watch other people training and kind of point out all the mistakes they're making and make corrections and fix them pretty quick.
Yeah. Did you feel like a black belt when you got your black belt?
No. I never felt like I deserved any of my belts.
Well, to make it standalone, kind of walk through your progression, how you found jiu-jitsu and where you trained and kind of how it went for you. Don't skip the throwing star guy.
That would be Kung Fu Joe. Started in 1995. So ended up at Rickson's Academy. I went to Rickson's Academy in 94 during Thanksgiving break to train. Got absolutely destroyed. And then was like, okay, I need to learn these superpowers. So I moved to LA in the summer of 95. I was 20 years old and started training there. So, I mean, I was super blessed at that time to be able to train with Rickson during his kind of his prime training years. So, and during those days, we still had challenge matches going on quite frequently where guys would come in and they'd want to fight. And I think Rickson Gracie put an offer in Playboy magazine where anyone that wants to come in and fight one of the Gracies and can win will get $100,000 that they didn't have. Nobody had.
Yeah,
right?
that's going to get some up and comers though, for sure.
Well, they used to film all those matches. They used to film guys coming in and challenging them, and they would, different rule set. Like sometimes they'd be slapping, sometimes it'd be full like closed fist punching, but
Who
different
got to
martial
choose?
artists. I think it was the guy that
challenger?
The challenger.
That's fair.
Right. And that's where all that
both
Gracie
ways.
in action footage came from. I don't know if you ever saw any of those. It was like Gracie in Action 1 and Gracie in Action 2. And it was just basically guys coming in and them just completely dismantling other martial artists, and then Horian talking in a very, very stoic voice like, and watch as the Gracie Jiu-jitsu practitioner effortlessly takes him down and mounts him. You can see he's just lost on the bottom. He's helpless. He doesn't know what to do. And, he's like a fish out of the water.
Good God.
Sounds like Wild America or something.
Yeah, it was. Well, so crazy in the beginning of the Gracie in Action, it was literally like they took a scene out of National Geographic where a lion is literally chasing down a zebra and like takes the zebra down and like bites its neck and it's like, suffocating it until the zebra passes out. So that was kind of...
What would happen if the person would have won? They would have got $100,000 from the Gracies, but they didn't have to pay if they lost?
Yeah, so they basically what happened was they'd come in, sign a waiver, and fight. And by the time I was training there, they were done fighting just randoms off the street, and so they would make the students fight the randoms. And I was the secretary at the school, so I was fighting randoms.
Hence the throwing star man. Was he pacing with it and spinning it, or did he actually huck it?
Oh,
in?
he was throwing them into. So we were in like an old karate studio. They were renting the space where we would have like our classes. We would have to lay out these fold out mats every day, and he was throwing him into a wooden wall. And so he did that the first day, and then he came back a couple of days in a row, and eventually the instructor was like, "You keep coming in here and being disrespectful." It was like, "Are you here to fight?" And the guy was like, "Yes." And so then they were...
That's so weird.
It's incredibly awkward.
I wish there were more cameras then.
I know.
Oh, I back then it was like those old VHS tapes,
Shoulder
those big
mount.
giant. Yeah, there's so much footage of like training back in the old days that I wish we would have had iPhones to be able to capture. Just like incredible moments. I was like, oh man, these are like should have been on video.
What was Kung Fu Joe's opener? What did he start the match with?
He started off the first time we fought because it was twice. And this is normally what happened after you beat the guy really effortlessly. They're like, oh, let's go again because I can do better the next time, right? But he started off in like this crazy weird like crane pose, like with his leg fully extended. And I was just like, literally when I see him extend his leg out, I started salivating. I was just like, I'm just going to kick right through his knee. So I did that front kick right into the knee. And I slipped off the knee, but I ended up clinching and taking him down, and then he just tapped out as soon as I took him down. So,
what did he learn from that in his second go?
well, I like as soon as he tapped out, you let go, right?
Yeah.
That's like so. He went to the ground, he tapped out right away, and the instructor was like, "Whoa, no! You can't just tap out just because you fall on the ground." He was like, Henry doesn't train stand up, so he's not tapping just because it's on the feet.
Yeah,
you guys have to go again. And then he looked at me, he goes, Henry, once you take him down, if he taps out, keep going. So I was like,
slight bend of the rule set. Okay,
copy. So this time, like he was waiting for me to clinch. He was waiting for me to run in, and so basically he stuck his leg out. And as soon as I kicked a step in, he stepped his leg back and threw a punch, which grazed me. And but I took him down, and then he got me in a headlock, and I punched him a bunch of times, and he let go and arm locked him. And then
okay.
So,
Did you guys become buddies after that?
no, but it was actually I share in a lot of the podcasts I've done. It was a very, very profound moment for me because he went to sit on the bench afterwards, and he was super depressed. And I went and sat next to him, and he was like, "Man," he goes, "I've been training Kung Fu for 15 years, and I've been doing ninjutsu." So he's training like Kung Fu and ninjutsu. So he'd been a martial artist for a long time. I think he was in his 30s. I was 20 years old at the time. And he said, I feel like I've wasted half my life. And so
That's a rough place to be.
Yeah. it was just some like dogma, some belief system that he had. He like somehow believed, and he asked me how long I'd been training, and at the time I'd only been training, I think 2 or 3 months.
So you needed to lie to him in that moment. It'd be like 12 years also.
Well, I was a white belt. He saw that I was a white belt, but like back then they were like, Henry, take your gi off. Right. So when I fought, so I take my belt, take my gi off, but he saw like, cause it was early morning. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. And, the guy came in and, after they said, you want to fight, they called one of the other students to fight, and the other guy didn't want to do it. And so I was like, hey, I'll do it. So they're like, take your gi off.
Did you get a stripe after that though?
No.
Damn it.
Unfortunately.
But did Rickson stripe people's belts?
We didn't just stripes. Back then it was just like he'd just walk in a day and just throw a belt at you, and it was basically like they didn't even have jiu-jitsu belts back in the day, like legitimate jiu-jitsu belts. It was like karate belts. That you would just, there was a company called KI that made like martial arts belts, and it was just like,
were they like 8 feet long and had like 3 feet tails coming out of the knot?
Even the gis, like we used to wear judo gis because there was no such
thick
thing as like, you had to get a jiu-jitsu gi actually from Brazil, like that was cut for jiu-jitsu.
Enter Scotty.
Yeah. That's where Scotty Nelson comes in.
Yeah. He's so goddamn cool. So did Rickson make a big deal out of giving you your black belt, or he just huck it at you?
No, well, I went up to his house. He called me up to his house. We trained for a little bit, went over some self-defense stuff, and then he gave it to me. So it was a complete shock to me. I was totally like surprised, but yeah, it wasn't a big deal, but for me too,
a catastrophic deal.
Yeah, because for me, it was something that I had always, it was a goal of mine. It was a huge goal of mine. I never but for me, I was never one that wanted the belt. Like I was never one of the pieces like, oh, I can't wait to, or thinking about my next belt. I just wanted to keep training and keep getting better. And because of his level, I always felt like no matter how good I got, I was still so far away. So like when he gave me the belt and I'm a black belt, I'm like, man, this doesn't even make sense. Like I'm the same belt as you, and literally you could tap me out every 30 or 40 seconds if you want to. Like, how does this make sense? Like so kind of like we've had the discussion, like, man, I don't feel like I deserve the belt. And I share with you, like, I didn't feel I deserve it either. And like one of the things Rickson said is like, hey, you'll grow into it, What was his teaching style like? A little bit all over the place. I mean, Rickson is, I always tell people, because English is not his first language, and he was never a super passionate teacher. Like his passion was competing. His passion was fighting and competing. He was never a great teacher because like his ability to articulate information, he's like the way he uses words is sometimes very, very confusing. But when he gets to put his hands on you, so he's a kinesthetic teacher. Like if you get to do a position with him, there's no better teacher out there.
That makes sense.
You like to teach that way.
I was just going to say, you teach a lot.
I'm very hands-on when I teach, but also because of, and you guys are really familiar with like the style of jiu-jitsu I teach. And that's another thing I think a lot of people don't understand is there's so many different styles of jiu-jitsu. People think, oh, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is just jiu-jitsu, or jiu-jitsu is just jiu-jitsu and everyone's doing the same thing. It's completely not like that. There are so many different styles. There's so many different methods and ways of doing things. And a lot of schools or, a lot of different like schools or systems have their own specific style of how they like to do things. Right. And for me, weight distribution is such a huge element of my game and my style. Like that's something that has to be felt, so.
It seems like every school I've gone to, and you guys are both black belts, I'm not even close to that, but everywhere I go, everybody says, like, yeah, we're the pressure game here, we're the weight and pressure game. Everybody seems to say that, though.
And then you feel them, and then what does it feel like?
But I'm just saying, like, their interpretation is that that's what they're doing.
Right.
We're pressure school, we're pressure school.
I've been a black belt for about 7 seconds, so I'm going to hand that one back over to Henry.
You've been training for years.
It is a different... I've heard people... But I've also felt people trying to apply pressure to me by squeezing. You know, they want to mimic it as in a way that actually costs them more energy versus the way that you teach it to expend the least amount of energy possible. I guess it could feel similar. It doesn't restrict your movement as much, though. I don't find it to, at least.
Yeah, there's two ways of creating pressure, right? You can create pressure by using strength, or you can create pressure by learning how to use your weight.
AKA
and most
gravity.
of the people that say they're a pressure style create pressure by using strength, by being physical, by like pulling or using their arms to pull or squeeze.
Yeah, the gables.
Which is kind of completely against my belief or philosophy, which is using your weight to create pressure because it doesn't cost you strength, and then also not using your hands because we want our hands to be able to attack, or during my time in jiu-jitsu, we want our hands to be able to punch an elbow, right? Because when I was coming up, it was all about fighting.
How did they simulate that in a class setting? Just like light open hand, or would you put gloves on sometimes?
Yeah, open palm strikes, and then sometimes just touching with the elbows.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, the purpose of striking in training is not to injure your training partner, but to simulate and create panic and create and so sometimes those trainings would get a little bit out of control. But yeah, you can definitely open palm strike someone and start to really like touch their face and go a little bit harder if they're not reacting, if they're ignoring it, you know, because you want to simulate that panic, simulate that feeling of like, oh shoot, I'm getting bombed on.
Yeah, maybe
I need to move. I need to change my position. I need to grab that arm, or I need to protect myself.
Urgency.
Maybe the inverted game directly underneath somebody's fist is not the best in a street fight. I respect it in the mats. I mean, I watch people play that game, and especially if they encounter somebody who their knowledge is shallower in that area, it doesn't go their way for sure.
No.
Yeah. Are you still fired up about shooting and teaching gun stuff, Mickey?
I hate it.
Cool. I mean, it's a good thing you do it for a living, so it's...
No, I love it. I think, talking, just listening to him right there, though, I am not, I've got friends that, 6 of them have won world championships, and so I go train with those guys, and it's completely different animal.
Same tools, but you're just looking at it as if, how are you
These
doing
guys,
this?
like one of them calls it chasing the dragon. There's no money. There's like 5 guys that make a living as that kind of shooter. You know, you might get a sponsorship from a firearm manufacturer or something, but it's not the money that you're going to get in football or something. There's just a handful of dudes, and it's injurious to your hearing. These guys are all carpal tunneled and arthritic. It's
Why are you still passionate about doing what makes you so, like, for me, I know that as long as I continue to keep training, I'm going to keep getting better.
Sure.
Also, like, the relationships are super important for me. You know, like, it's created so many amazing relationships and just getting to spend time with people. But like, what makes you so passionate about?
that was kind of the point I was driving towards. It's you don't need to be a world-class shooter. The martial arts in general, to me, if it's a machete or a pistol or your fists or bow staff, they all are intended for self-defense, right? Martial is Mars, warlike. Gun doesn't seem to be any more warring thing than we humans can create, right? That a human can wield. One of the women that we're with can beat you across this room with that revolver, right? Your jiu-jitsu doesn't do shit to that revolver, so it's an equalizer. So for me, we can take normal people and give them a tool, right? It's not the end-all be-all. All the awareness and all that stuff matters, but that's what I'm passionate about, being able to take even your wife, who's a world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner, against an average strength man. She's got to really fight. She'll probably do really good, but it's not the same as you or me against that same average guy. So it's a great equalizer, especially for women. Or, I think I should say me, I can't speak for anybody else. I forget that I can still do push-ups. There'll be a day where I'm not going to be able to do a push-up. Or get up when somebody knocks me down. I used to work with a guy, he since has passed on. He was an old Army dude named Jerry, and he had a knife hanging around his neck, a knife on the belt line. He had 2 pistols on his belt line. He had a knife in his boot, and he was
Jerry or Bruce Wayne, did you say?
he was. If you saw him, you thought he was like a tinkering grandfather.
Grappling
he was
hook.
a sweet man.
Well, he was tinkering, all right.
People say to him, like, Jerry, are you paranoid? What the hell's wrong with you? And he was in his 70s. He'd go, if one of you kids knocks me down, and tries to hurt me, I can't do anything to you. I'm 70-something years old, so I'm going to
Cut
shoot
your fucking Achilles tendon.
Exactly. So, he had to get vicious about it. So to me, it's in a matter of days, hours, you can pass on enough skill that somebody can go on and train and have a tool to protect themselves, where you can't fuck around with jiu-jitsu. You can't just show up and, let me do this for a weekend and I'm good. It's, there's no value
No way,
in
dude.
that.
My shrimp was powerful after my first week. I didn't know when to do it, but
Yeah. But I also am not the person that thinks this is the thing.
yeah.
I mean, go to an airport, go to any of the 98 million places that we don't have a gun. So
It's interesting. Listen, so both of you teach professionally, and I have a suspicion about why you guys enjoy what you do as well. And neither, sure, I mean that does make the world go round. It's not the end of the world or the end all be all, but I think both of you, because I've seen you light up when people make leaps in their jiu-jitsu, like you love helping people.
Yeah.
And you do the same. I mean, you do too. When you're able to, you kind of express that a little bit, passing on that knowledge. But I bet it lights you up when you see somebody listening to what you say.
Yeah.
Then the hardest step, doing what you say, absent their fucking bias that they bring from YouTube, and they improve.
100%.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know about you guys. Everything I know about the stuff I teach came from somebody else. There's some things I add a twist to, like Todd Fox, our friend, shared something the other day, kind of poo-pooing and making fun of all the guys in the martial arts space that like trademark and copyright stuff. Did you see the post he put up?
How actually can you trademark a human being moving?
But people do this.
Has walking been trademarked? Because we could go in on that right now.
Right.
Sleeping,
or a strike or whatever. Yeah.
I feel like that's total horseshit.
I agree.
Maybe it's perhaps.
I don't think you can actually do it, but I think it's a total marketing.
Well, I've got a
patent pending worldwide.
Patent pending gift wrap.
Or just
For the
this.
first time
Patent
ever in
pending.
2024.
This one comes up all the time, even if there's no legal shit. Dude, that guy stole that from Henry. Or that guy stole that from Andy. I learned that from Henry 10 years ago. People say things like that. That guy's teaching that, and he's not, giving credit to this guy. Well, how do you know those guys aren't on other sides of the planet, like practicing the thing? So.
Also, can we just agree that we probably have never created a lot of stuff other than in technology
I
for
agree.
probably centuries at this point?
Yeah.
Like I love the pictures of the Roman sculptures where they're digging for underhooks and they have a gable grip, or they're
With their
it's a little bit
dicks
awkward
out.
when they're like they're doing north south and
They
one of them's
are.
standing up. It's
Yeah, their dicks out.
that one's a little bit.
69 standing with
Everyone, this is
grabbing-
weird.
I mean, let's be honest. They butt fuck their way through the world. I mean, we can be honest about this.
So we're training after this, or what?
The Spartans, on their wedding day, would shave their wives' heads to look closer.
Shut up!
I'm dead
Come
serious.
here, Carol.
I am dead serious. There was a tremendous amount of butt fucking.
How do you know all of
Because
this?
I have the internet.
Okay.
And there is one of the SBG gyms, Connolly. You've been there.
Yeah.
Spartan Fitness. And of course, I immediately, because he was a Marine too, I immediately found him like, hey,
Did you know?
are you aware that your logo is just a powerful butt fucking icon? He's just like, that's not true. So of course went deep down the rabbit. And again, I don't give a shit.
You're printing
He didn't
pages
just
off.
blast you in the chest with a big giant front kick.
No.
This is Sparta.
No, he's just like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is, Chris. But yeah, the Spartans, before Thermopylae, there was like Thermopylae, and they were just banging it out the night
Might be
before.
a new cleared hot shirt.
Listen, if you got to shave your wife's head, it's like, whew, maybe it's gone too far. Again, live your life however you want. I don't give a shit, but true story.
But the point is that people have been figuring out all this stuff for
Come
years.
on. I mean, other than like electricity and all the stuff that,
sure.
that I think is evolution on a scale we can't keep track of, but I don't know, a biped achieving a vertical stature and walking, like you're telling me that if you can trademark a jujitsu move that you'll like people would intuitively do even if they weren't taught it. They're like, oh, that hand's here. I'm just going to grab it. Like, come on.
I mean, somebody did make fire for the first time. Somebody did.
Probably lightning.
You know what I mean? When a man harnessed it.
Yeah.
But that, like, often quoted, there's nothing new under the sun scripture from the Bible. Like, I'd never seen that sign made out of a rubbery material. He and I were manipulating it earlier. That's new. Somebody did make that. You're right.
Which is just built upon other shit that people had made, though.
Sure. But there wasn't some caveman making a battery level cleared hot.
Imagine if you had that. Of course, it would be difficult to demonstrate to the cavemen, given there were no 110 outlets. But if you somehow, I guess, took a battery with you, which would also fucking blow their mind.
That's true.
And you could turn that on, you'd be their leader.
So the point is, some things we do create, but most of it just comes back to butt fucking, I think is what you were saying.
Yeah, it's like the Apple building. It's just a circle.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I got out of it.
Oh, it was good having you guys all up here.
We've had a great time, actually.
I appreciate
Private Pilot coming up.
I appreciate Brian and Kaja's two different approaches. You, Scotty, who
3 different approaches.
man, you know, Scotty, he's a Renaissance man for sure. It's like, I'll bring you, and just flies up. Brian and Kaja are like, I have a better idea. Let's do a 3-day drive in several hours, full cannonball run. And then the reasonable approach you guys took, which was camping across the U.S.
Yeah, we saw all the national parks between Chicago and here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they drove straight out pretty much.
There's a time and place for that. You're hammered dog shit at the end of that journey, though.
And they only did it, and we're here for 2 days, and churned and burned right back home, too, which is pretty intense.
You guys travel as a crew, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like if Dan's going to go somewhere, it's more than likely Henry's there, and that's why we're going, and then all of us just, it's like 10 of us that basically just travel around.
Yeah, we've all been in a lot of places together. We've been in other countries, other states for sure.
Dan and I always laugh about it because we'll be out there rolling with each other, and everybody else is done. I'm like, why do we fucking travel around the world to just fight each other? Like, I know where you live and you know where I live. We could just visit each other. We don't have to do this in, like, Europe, you know,
true.
Like South America.
It's so
we've
that
got
you
to
can collect the Hard Rock Cafe shirts from each city that we go
Yes, I guess.
I don't have one.
I don't either. Do they even have those restaurants anymore?
They do.
I remember they were a pretty big thing when I was growing up, but I haven't seen one recently.
Yeah, they're still out there. Wasn't there one right by you? Like right up the strip? Isn't there the big Hard
There's
Rock?
a hotel
The
casino.
Hard Rock
But I thought
Casino
they
closed
I thought
down.
They, oh, the
I don't know if
casino's
the
gone?
I don't know if they have a cafe.
I thought
But I know they're
restaurants.
building a new one. They're replacing the Mirage, so they're tearing down the Mirage and putting up the new Hard Rock. It's in the process right now. So
Didn't you guys also get a baseball team? The Raiders play in Vegas now, right? Didn't you guys get the A's?
yeah, we're taking everything from Oakland.
Has the strip ever been actually like static and had a year where there was not something being exploded and redone or built on?
COVID.
Okay.
Did you ever see the footage of me walking down
Didn't
the
you get
strip
pepperballed?
and it was like a ghost town? That was another night. That was another night.
Absent COVID, has the strip ever been dormant, meaning like, hey, we're just going to call this good for a footprint?
No.
Yeah.
It's like constant people at all hours of the night.
And hotels just being like removed and put back up.
Pumping, yeah.
They just get burned out too. Probably those buildings just get trashed.
I remember when the pyramid with the light going up to the sky, I remember when that thing opened, people were like, this is
Is that the
apex.
Luxor? Is that what
Yeah.
that is?
Yeah, they're like, this is the apex of engineering and architecture for humankind.
Now it's stupid.
And now it's like you trip over that thing for some of the other like behemoths.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You guys have
The sphere.
I like the fact that guy climbed it on the outside. That guy climbs everything though, like the human Spider-Man.
Is that the guy from France?
I think so. That's
What the hell's his name?
he climbs like super tall buildings where they have those cracks in between the mirrors. I don't know how he carries the weight of his balls. I mean, he has no safety mechanism whatsoever and basically just grip. And I'm sure climbing shoes, but fuck, man.
Yeah.
I think he takes breaks on ledges and stuff if he can find them. But he knows he's going to get arrested at the top, and he still sends it. He did this.
Elaine Robert is his name.
Yeah, he did the sphere, which I think the sphere, I haven't walked up close to it, but I feel like there's better handholds, and also as you're getting closer to the top, the angle would decrease. But that guy just fully sends skyscrapers just up the cracks in
I've
between.
seen that. I was in there and checked it out. I did not think about climbing it though, so I wasn't looking for handholds.
Yeah, that's a negative for me. I'm scared of heights. Like when I watched Free Solo with Alex Honnold, and there was that point where he's just like, I'm gonna just chill up here, and they show the like literally my balls went up into my chest. I was just like, oh fuck, I'm getting wheezy.
And
fuck that.
you knew he was still alive.
Yeah.
Like he had done like the red carpet stuff. It had already been released by the time I saw it, and I was white knuckling my chair. Even the camera guy, that was one of my favorite parts. He's just like, I'm never fucking doing this shit again. I can't watch this shit.
Too much.
It was
It's
too much. Can you imagine that? Oh, man, capturing your friend falling to his fucking death?
Different screw. My brother is a pretty prolific rock climber, and there was about 5 years that he'd say, hey, you remember so-and-so? And
yeah, they're dead.
They're
I believe Hono actually lives in Vegas.
Yeah.
Which is not a good place to live in the summer months. It's just death.
You guys have some rock climbing out there.
118 today.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really? What is it here? 80-something?
Yeah. It's going to get up here into the 90s, I think.
Today?
Next week. It's going to be a little bit warm.
Now we're talking about the weather.
Yeah. Pepperballed. What did you do to deserve being pepperballed?
You got pepperballed? By the police?
By the popo.
What did you do?
Las Vegas does not mess around. And they were specifically not messing around during COVID. So, they were having all the protests and the riots because of the George Floyd thing. And so I was like, oh, let's go walk the strip because this is the only time we're going to be able to walk the strip without anyone there. That'd be a cool idea. Little did I know that a protest had started all the way on the other end. And once they got to a certain point, the police and SWAT were there to basically make sure that they weren't going to trash like billion-dollar buildings, right? And so at a certain point, they stopped the protest and they're like, okay, we're going to break it up. And they started pushing people down. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to get a great workout by walking. And then I had a weight vest on.
Oh,
Let me put a weight. So I look like it looks like I have a bulletproof vest on, right? And I'm like,
I might have pepperballed him too.
Yeah.
And you probably had music in your ears, not hearing them calling at you?
No, I heard them calling. But the problem was, like, as they were pushing people up, where I had the car parked was past them. And so I was trying to get back to my car as they were pushing. I'm like, oh, great. So I actually had to run up the stairs. Like, they were shooting at us with pepper balls. And so I actually had to run up the stairs and hide for a little bit. And like, man, I'm going to let this pass. But I was actually really, really happy that they were doing that because, like, literally a couple days before, I lived in Santa Monica for 20 years, and there were tanks on the streets of Santa Monica, and seeing the destruction of like people that don't even live in Santa Monica come there to protest and completely destroy that, which is like one of the most beautiful, places in LA.
I had forgotten about that. Yeah, cop cars were on fire in the street.
Yeah, they were they were literally looting, like breaking in all the stores on the promenade, breaking in all the stores in the mall, and like looting stuff. They set the high school on fire, and we used to live like right across the street from the high school. This was like 2020 sometime. It was like during the George Floyd protests. Yeah. And they literally called in the National Guard and had tanks on the streets. And so for me, I'm like, man, it's insane what they're letting slide. And the chief of police basically told all the police officers to stand down, like just don't interfere. So it was just kind of a free for all.
Did something happen in Santa Monica? How did the protests get that large there? I know it was the same time period, but was it just an extension of like the national protesting?
Because they like to go to really wealthy places where there's nice, fine goods to be able to get free shit.
Yeah, there is an element of that is not talked about very much.
Let's go to Beverly Hills and protest in Beverly Hills and see how much free shit we can get.
I guess the question would be, what do you do with that free shit afterwards? I've never tried to traffic in stolen goods, but I would imagine offloading
they just
it for
sell
cash.
It on eBay and sell it on, there's just, it's so hard to be able to.
What did you find in your phone research, Mickey?
September of 2020.
Did you find anything in there as to why it kicked off, though, or was it just all tied to that same incident?
I just didn't want to get too deep into this here, but damn.
Yeah, it was crazy.
There was so much going on at that time, I didn't even remember that specific one. There was just so many different...
That was relatively early. It was the first year of COVID, right? When did they do the lockdowns, though? It was early that year,
March
right?
of 2020 is when it first came over to the United States, and that's when it started hitting because of Dan. Had just gotten back from Costa Rica, Patient Zero. who contracted COVID in Costa Rica and brought it to the U.S.
So we were in Normandy with a dude who had gotten sick and was on a plane back from fucking Wuhan. And he was like, surprisingly enough, everybody on this airplane was sick, and I was like wrecked for a week when we got back.
This is just this past trip?
Yes. No, he wasn't like, he was regaling us of his Wuhan story. He's like, yeah, you guys think you know patient zero? I was visiting fucking Wuhan and flew out of there.
And had bat soup, right?
Well, I don't even think you needed bat soup. You're in that steel tube or just the waiting area.
Sure.
So
I hated that time.
I've heard a lot of people say that they think that was a government's test for control. And if it was, I think they fucked it up because I don't know if it would work again.
I don't think so.
I don't think it would work. I think they took it a touch too far. If it was going to be a test, I think they took it a little bit too far, and now people are like, "Nah, go fuck yourself."
I don't think they could pull that off.
What I loved is you can gather in groups of 50 to 100 people to protest, but for Thanksgiving, you're only allowed to have 10 people for gatherings at Thanksgiving. Like, absolutely none of it made any sense at all. And I think
the admission that the social distancing numbers were their best guess,
yeah.
Which I actually would tolerate better if people like Fauci would have said, "We're not really sure. This is what we know right now, and this is what we think will help." I would tolerate that better than people having punitive measures taken against them for an arbitrary standard that they didn't have any scientific backing in.
It was in lunacy.
How about arresting the guy in San Francisco for paddleboarding when he was out in the middle of the ocean by himself?
Mm-hmm.
I think about that guy often because I want to know what happened to him. Like, did that get expunged? Was he made good for fucking out there working out and like being a better version of himself, hurting absolutely nobody? And I think it was 3 cop cars that tried. So it created the situation that they were trying to avoid, getting people together.
I forget the nature of it, but I interviewed a guy that was accosted by police. Sad that I don't remember it because I did a podcast with the guy. Veteran. I think he was a Marine. And he went to go like just stand on the beach and catch his breath after all the crap going on. And they like pulled up like, "Sir, get on the ground," and like cuffed him up. Crazy shit. It became a little national news thing for a minute. But there was just no good reason for it. There was nobody for hundreds of yards and a quarter of a mile or more in any direction.
Why would the cops do that? I think about that too. Like you know when something is not right internally. I would like to think that we all have that governor. Maybe, if I was one of those cops, I think I would just drive somewhere else. Like, nope, nobody was here on the beach. What is this person possibly doing to hurt themselves or other people?
Afraid of losing your job.
Yeah.
I think we all are self-employed. It's different when you got to answer to the man.
I was, Dan and I passed back and forth some pretty powerful means. Some of them are business. Some, to be honest, most of them are about people doing jiu-jitsu with Down syndrome. But the business ones are always I want to work for myself, so I only have to work Monday through Friday. And somebody else is just fucking dying laughing. Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
Every time I'm with you, you're working.
I don't ever stop working. I have family coming into town next weekend, and I took as much time off as I could to just hang with you guys this one, but I can't take like 2 weeks off.
Right. Usually you do like an hour on your computer, then you take an hour or 2 off. And then you
I try to.
Pick it up and do more, whatever that is. I pay people to do that stuff. I don't even know what you do.
Well, that's because you're fantastically wealthy for charging so much for your courses.
No, I actually don't even know how to do half the stuff you know how to do.
Trust me, I don't know how to do that much shit. Like this podcast, I will edit with AI. I found a program that does the camera angle switching on its own because God knows what Michael is doing right now. I'm sure he's deep inside a dude-on-dude throuple, and I didn't want to disturb him.
What's a throuple?
3 people.
Oh.
A couple, throuple.
Or he's learning how to wash windows with Tyler.
Yes. Potentially. Who's the business partner? Maybe you.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
What do you think? It took Dan 20 seconds to dissect Tyler's business plan yesterday?
Yeah, you don't bring up business in front of Uncle Dan unless you want his opinion.
Especially at the age of 18, having really not thought through the mechanics of why you would want to bring in a partner.
Chop some holes in that one pretty quick.
for his benefit. He had already completely changed his business plan by the time he hopped on his bike to head home.
Yeah.
It wasn't any better, for clarity, but he had changed
That
his
idea
business
was
plan.
out the window.
Yeah.
It's good to thresh out those ideas.
I love having conversations with him about that stuff. I never tell him not to do stuff. I'll just phrase it as, have you thought about this, that, or the other? Because the last thing I want to do with a kid like him is in any way inhibit his creativity.
Yeah, let him rip.
Because he is out of his fucking mind, and I'm here for it. It is awesome. Like college, so he goes to college in just over a month. I'm sorry, Bozeman, in advance.
Does he have like a food program he's involved in there?
He has to be in the dorms
Okay.
until he's a sophomore. He's got some JC time, so he'll quickly achieve the credit requirement to get out of the dorms. But his first year will be in there. There is a food plan, and I spent 0 seconds in college, so I don't know how it works. I don't know if it's like a number of meals you get or it's dollars on a card. Because if he had a card worth a month, I would give him 7 days to be through
Burn that sucker
Oh,
up.
for sure. And then Dad would get a call. Hey, do you happen
How
to
would
have?
he burn it up if he never has his wallet on him?
God.
There you go.
So all of his equipment for his business, he has pitched to his grandfather. Would you like to invest in your grandson's latest business idea? My birthday is just around the corner. Also, Christmas is too. What about this ladder? What about this?
Hey, if it's working, he's getting it done.
My dad is the most willing participant in that because he lights up just hanging out with him. It's disturbing, some of the things he does.
He's a tradesman too, right? Your pop had
Yeah.
some trades background, so it's probably good to be around it.
Yeah, he'll go with him to his jobs sometimes. Give him some feedback. I think or maybe I didn't. One of his first jobs, it was in Lakeside, the town we passed through, and my dad was just inside talking with the elderly couple that was in there watching. He was on a huge bay window on a plank suspended in between two ladders, just yarding on his balls, facing the window, just like forearm deep in his balls. And my dad's just sitting there like, God damn it, kid, just turn around.
They might have hired him back next week.
I mean, the name alone has gotten him some good business.
Yeah, what is it again?
Peeping Tom windows. And then he has Epstein Christmas lights because they're not going to hang themselves.
I like it.
So do most people. The kid's got thousands of dollars in the bank. At that age, I had just joined the Navy. I think my first paycheck was $800, so I probably spent $1,000. Like it's unbelievable to me.
Bought a cool motorcycle jacket or something, probably.
Fuck, I don't even remember. Well, you know what I didn't realize? They say they issue you your uniforms when you join the Navy, which they surely do. And then they fucking deduct it from your first paycheck.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Also, I didn't know that, Mickey.
How old were you when you joined the Navy?
17.
You're 17.
I didn't go into the Navy until I was 18, though. I had to have graduate high school.
So you did the paperwork and...
I did, and I don't remember what I thought was the benefit of that at the time because I still had to graduate high school and turn 18. So it didn't actually accelerate anything other than contractually, which it actually had downside to it. It contractually obligated me, and if I would have gotten in trouble, I could have potentially gotten in trouble for not fulfilling my military contract as well.
Why would you have gotten in trouble?
That's what 17-year-olds do. They do dumb shit. Unless you didn't experience that when you were growing up.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, Mr. Mortar Firecracker. Yeah, I feel like
The fully developed male brain, right?
yeah.
I think mine's still maybe getting towards the halfway stage.
What would you estimate the cost of the fireworks that you set off at the house?
I don't know.
You just kept. Well, first off, where did you get them all? Because you just
40.
kept coming back for more.
$40
Bullshit. Per mortar?
per mortar. Yeah. I don't know. There's good fireworks stores all around America.
Okay.
They're
They're not usually open though.
You pull into them. I've got some phone numbers for guys. There's one in Michigan City, Indiana. It's called Rocket City Fireworks. The guy that runs it, his name is Mags. Okay? Mags is missing one ear. No
Okay.
joke. And I'll call him up. He runs a duck hunting outfit in Oklahoma. They do some duck hunting out there. So when he's not running the fireworks store, he's doing duck hunting or building calls and stuff. But I'll call him up and I'll go, what do you got? Where's the good stuff? And he'll meet me at the back door. It's all legal. Nothing's illegal. And hey,
So why does he have to meet you at the back door? Why can't he
because
meet you at the
usually
front
it'll be like him coming. He'll leave from home. Like I'll be on my way through because this is hours from my own home. He'll meet me I'll just pull up. He'll load me up.
Plus, really, June and July are the only months you're selling that stuff.
Yeah, he'll meet me. The place is closed most of the year. He'll be open for like a couple holidays, but I'll get some stuff. We use some of it in our training. You were at S12. We had some stuff get exploded.
Smoke stuff.
Do you think they have to have an inordinately large fire suppression system at a building that stores fireworks?
I don't think any of them do, and most of them are attached to illicit massage parlors. So almost like pay attention to that as you drive around. You're always going to see. I don't know. It's just like almost all of them are attached to massage.
I usually see them as standalone, like
out here.
Shipping
You're
containers.
thinking of those. You're thinking of
things.
those. So when you're out east, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Tennessee, you'll see like a little firework joint, and then there's going to be like massage. Yes, pay attention to it. My nephew and I started a spreadsheet of all their locations.
I mean, that's totally normal. Have you ever gone into one of those Asian massage
No,
places?
actually, I have not.
Henry?
I do not like Asians.
What? How can you say such a thing? You were king of the Asians in jail.
I was king of the Asians in jail. Well, they tried to make me king, but unfortunately, I was like, I'm probably going to be leaving, guys, so I'm not going to be able to lead you guys.
So no massage parlor?
I'm just not attracted to Asians. It feels like ancestral to me.
Are you
It feels
being
like incest?
See,
I'm
you're
just not
right
attracted to
now.
Asians.
There's people who are gonna
I know.
point at you.
Yeah. Just
Aren't we free to feel however we want to feel, though, and express whatever we want to express?
Did I tell you guys the story about going into a massage joint last year?
No, because you just fucking said you've never been in one.
No, I've had many massages, but I've never gone into like the little fucking shady Asian massage
Which
parlor.
has a metal table, and you can tell nobody's been face down on it ever.
Right. I'm in a little town on the East Coast, and my shoulder was so jacked up I couldn't pick my arm up to even grab the steering wheel. I order a cup of coffee. I see out the window this place, massage therapy. So I find their phone number. I call them. The lady says, you can come over. So I said, I'm going to finish my sandwich. I'll come over. No big deal. As soon as I walked in, I was a little bit like, like
What was the warning sign?
it smelled like perfume and lotion, and like it was very dimly lit and dirty, and there was like paper shutters and
Dirty, like pubic hairs on the floor?
no, just not well kept. Okay. It was like you're in like a dude's dorm room kind of shit, So she walks me in the back, and she has a bottle. This is just 6 or 8 months ago. She's got like a generic spray bottle with nothing on it. And says, "Hold your hands out." I'm not an idiot. I go, what is it? And she sprays it on her own hand. I could smell it. It's alcohol. I go, why do I need my hands sprayed with alcohol? And she's showing me that she's cleaning her hands. So I'm like, all right, you're looking like, what's going on with this?
I'm getting into the story.
Well, so I'm telling her, I'm like, all right, like I'm hoping there's going to be some, Mr. Miyagi shit. My shoulder's fucked. I lay down on the table and I didn't take my pants off because I am literally thinking I'm just getting the shoulder worked on. It's all I'm interested in. And I've had 100 naked massages for all the other.
You take all your clothes off for a massage?
100%.
You are a fucking 100%. You are just
I'm just working on my shoulder. Let me take my pants off to
You
get
know
more
this
comfortable.
motherfucker is like using his toes to slowly like grab the blanket too. Just like, there's the high ass crack. He's like, here, check out my balloon
Ask
knot.
anybody that goes for massages, it's 50-50. I always ask, how do you want me on the table? And they usually
They're
will
going to say whatever's the most comfortable for you because you're the goddamn
no,
client.
Nope. A lot of times they always say naked's preferable if you want to keep your underpants on. Why would I want
Why
to keep
is
my
naked
underpants on?
preferable?
Because they're touching your butt cheeks and other places, and you got to fold the
What
strap
other
down.
places would they be touching?
Not my dick. So I lay down and I'm explaining this to her. She comes in and immediately, like within 1 second, slides her hand into my ass crack, and I'm like, "Come on, man!" So I'm like my shoulder, so she like does like this. Just like touches it and then goes right back to my ass crack. And I'm like, I got to go. I'm like, I'm going to have the guys come in and cuff me. I got up, pulled my pants on, left. Yeah. There was other parts of that story. So I left my underwear on because I'm just getting the shoulder worked on. She comes in. That's the first thing she
Mickey,
does.
why didn't
is
you
strips
leave?
my underwear.
Why didn't you leave when I was putting the flashlight?
Hold on.
You got up with her putting your.
So you're laying on a table,
Yeah.
no towel on top of you or blanket?
No, I pulled a blanket on me. I had my underwear on. I had boxers
Face
on.
up or down?
Face down.
She comes in and just fucking...
Just immediately grabs my
like
underpants.
the fine china on
Yes,
the table
and
and just...
and just pulls them down and goes into my butt cheek like this. Yep. I was like, oh, man. I literally thought it was going to be like that, like caught on tape, like you're a pervert. And like the cops were going to come in and be like, you were here to get your stuff.
What? I mean, okay.
So she didn't retrieve the flashlight.
There was no flashlight retrieval. There was no penal touching. I ended it. I told
Have
her
you
I had to
publicly
go.
talked about the flashlight?
No.
We should.
I mean, that's his. It's him. I mean, I'm a victim.
You're the one
I
that
am
brings
a
it up
victim.
every time we're together.
Why? Because I want people to understand if it ever happens again, they want you to know that you're a repeat offender.
Who wants to tell it from their perspective?
You guys let Termy Henry out.
I can be a bit much sometimes, and I think you had a stressful week of
Set
training.
the stage. We're in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
So you're probably wearing only Ranger panties at best.
Probably. It was very warm.
Yeah. Okay.
Silkies. We call them
You invited us to
Silkies.
your home up on the hill for supper.
My palace.
Your palace up on the hill. You had on a shorty robe, silk shorty robe. I added that part to the story.
I was going to say, I don't remember that.
No, we were up there for a nice dinner. You rarely
We
ever
had an
drink.
amazing dinner.
Yeah, it was great.
When you're training, you never drink during training.
Don't ever
so
drink
the training was over.
before I'm training.
You decided to start drinking. You were like 3 Zimas into the evening. I don't know, what were you drinking? Probably like
Tequila.
Tequila with orange wedges.
And
Iced.
Everything I could get my hands on.
you decided to show me jiu-jitsu, and I tried to defend myself.
How did that work out for you?
We're sharing your famous dick jokes with all of us.
What was the joke? I don't remember this. See, I don't remember any of this part. I must have
you
blacked
do.
all this out.
Well, you know, it's constant dick jokes when Mickey's around.
Yeah.
And it was kind of getting me turned on. And so I was like, oh, man, that's a beautiful looking flashlight you got there in your pocket, Mickey.
Didn't you end up upside down?
And that's the worst part. That's the worst part. I was
He
up,
was stuffed underneath the couch.
We were in the corner. My freaking legs were up over my head. And what was worse is I scanned the room, and most people were not on board, but nobody wanted to become a victim, and everybody was like pretending to laugh.
Everyone was like, no, Henry, no, Henry, no, Henry, with their cell phones recording.
Yeah, he took my little Streamlight Stylus Pro. Little shout out to Streamlight. And yeah, you tried to do shit with that
I didn't
flashlight.
try.
Well, if it only goes in that far, it's.
And for the audio only, that was about an inch.
It's funny that I'm laughing about this and I even talk to you people. It's disgusting.
Oh my God.
It was okay. It wasn't that big a deal. I'm over it.
Upside down, legs over here.
You're a pervert.
How did you get into that position?
I don't know. I think what happened was I tried to get away, and he's got a little bit more training and experience, and I don't remember. I was pretty inebriated too, I think. That nothing ever goes good when you're almost naked.
You're always almost naked.
No, I'm not. I'm dressed right now.
Yeah, because we just went to a restaurant and you were doing like professional things. So we were back at the house, you'd be wearing silkies.
Shirt off with silkies, yeah.
I usually have clothes
and
on.
Crocs.
Yeah.
Well, that's only because it was hot out. It's 4th of July. That's a terrible. So train with Henry. Come to a Henry camp. Yeah. No, truth be told, just to bring it full circle, you are a very professional instructor. I know you. You've slept at my house. I've had the footage from the guest room that you didn't know about. So
I only bless one person each camp with that experience. So.
I don't know anybody else that has such a story, but I just want to make sure the listeners don't think that you're a weirdo and it causes any kind of painful situation to your business. That's all.
Oh, fuck. Henry, what other camps do you have this year, 2024, which we're already past halfway through?
That's scary.
I know.
Nothing.
You don't have a single camp? Well, you have the one. Well, it's sold out, so I guess it's pointless to bring up.
Yeah. Oh, that.
What was
I
that
guess
called?
that camp
BJJ
in-
Retreat?
BJ. Yeah.
That's the
Retreat.
California one.
The California one.
However, good luck signing
Grappler's
up.
Retreat.
That's what it is.
Grappler's Retreat. It's sold out in like.
But this year you've done Japan earlier in the year.
I did Japan. Yeah, I did a camp in Tokyo, which was awesome.
Do you think you'll return?
Yes. Oh, 100%. Tokyo is one of my favorite cities in the world. It's like a must go to place for anyone just because the food's incredible, the culture's amazing. It's the largest city in the world, and the people are so respectful. I mean, it's
Pull that mic a little closer.
I was looking at it. I'm going to get yelled at again.
You can just pull it towards you. You don't have to lean forward. Okay, you did a bunch of other seminars.
I'm going to Singapore. I'm doing,
Yes.
but it's just a one-day event in Singapore, so that's August 25th.
Fortunately, it's a super short flight over there, so one-day event.
I was thinking about that.
I'm going to stay for a week just to check it out, and but August 25th, and it's at Evolve MMA. So the head of One Fighting, Shatri, we connected online, and I got to train with him when I was flying from Australia to Japan. I stopped in Singapore for a day and got to train with him, and he loved the training. So he invited me back. So I'm going to do an event there at Evolve MMA in Singapore.
I heard you guys talking the other night that the one network actually gets more views than the UFC, but the UFC does the pay-per-view. So obviously there's going to be a cash difference there. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So
I think they have the biggest viewership of...
And they do the same, I'm assuming the same type of thing, octagon card. Is it the same rule set?
Different rule set, because they have different events. So they'll do like kickboxing events. They'll have just specifically jiu-jitsu, like grappling events, and then they have MMA events. And it is a different rule set, because I do believe they allow kicks to the head on grounded opponents.
opponents?
So, yeah.
That's brutal.
Nothing's as brutal as watching that guy in one of the first USCs just getting punched in the balls.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
30 punches to the balls.
I remember that.
Fucking red Speedo, just hush, hush, hush.
Uppercut.
I don't know if anything is as rough as that.
But it didn't just immediately incapacitate him.
No, which is either the guy had a steel set.
I think he had a cup on.
Yeah. I still feel like after the 20th blow, that might have hurt.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
Didn't Rickson roll out there in a white Speedo?
Yes, in Japan. He was fighting in Japan.
Fuck that. I do think it's pretty wild that they did multiple fights per night. Like, that would change the UFC a little bit.
People, that's the crazy thing, is people don't remember, like, when the UFC first started, how freaking bananas it was. It was literally like you had to fight 3 guys in one night. There was no rules. Basically, the only rules were no biting and no eye gouging. No weight divisions, so you couldn't really train. You could, if you knew who your first opponent was, you could kind of train for him, but you had no idea who the second guy was going to be, and no idea and you had to fight 3 guys in one night to win the tournament.
Was that Keith Hackney that fought that huge Samoan guy?
Yeah. No, the huge Samoan guy got taken out. Well, the first UFC, Gerard Gordeau kicked the dude in the mouth, and his tooth went flying across, like, out of the cage, and.
Wasn't there one Keith had some huge guy opponent? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, he did fight. I can't remember. I think he was like,
just like,
yeah, like, what is it called? Ridge hand chopping the guy in the head.
Yes, probably broke
his hand.
Yeah,
and that was a crazy thing too. No gloves, right? So no gloves back then. So you actually had to know how to hit someone without breaking your hand.
Yeah, because if you broke your hand, you could keep going, but that was on you, right?
Usually, what happened was guys would break their hand, and then they wouldn't be able to continue in the tournament, right? And so they had alternates, and that was the crazy thing. So, like, if you could actually win that tournament, you had to basically beat that guy and get out of the fight taking no damage so that you could continue to beat the next guy who you had no idea how big he was or what style he was going to be. Back then, it wasn't even called MMA. It was called no holds barred. Right? MMA didn't actually even start until much later, when after Royce had won so many of those events that all the other martial artists started cross-training grappling. They started implementing jiu-jitsu into their training, and so then it became mixed martial arts, where you would train some stand-up art to kind of be comfortable with strikes, and then you were also training jiu-jitsu or some type of grappling art to be just competent on the ground, because guys were just getting smoked.
I had the chance to meet him at a SIG event. He's huge, or his participation in the gun world is quite big.
Who's that?
Royce.
Oh, yeah.
I spent very little time with him, but he seemed like a nice enough guy. His team actually won. Fuckers. Obviously, they cheated. Do you know
he's
Cole?
Super big in that world.
Yeah, no, he
loves shooting. Yeah.
First time I met him was at a SHOT Show booth years ago. I think it was for like a pink ladies holster. They were paying him to be at the booth.
Do you go there every year?
Maybe sometimes I take a year off.
Yeah.
It's a time suck, but
I haven't gone for a couple of years. I'm hoping to never go again.
I mean, it is the one thing you hear from everybody is you get to visit with buddies and stuff.
Yeah, I don't like having those.
Yeah.
They should do a jiu-jitsu SHOT Show. Everybody can have a booth, and they just challenge each other from across the room.
It's a good idea.
You want to host it?
We could have a booth where we trademark moves.
But it'd be easy.
That'll be our service.
Easy for me to set up.
Could do a logo with a silky and a flashlight and
Partially in.
Yeah, something like that. Bottle of massage lotion.
What courses do you have coming up?
Well, we teach our pistol and rifle courses around the country, and then we've got our big S12 event that you've come to. That's down in Nashville in November. Yeah, that's a medical combative.
November what? When?
I believe that's like the 14, 15, 16, 17. It's like 5 days.
Where does the name S12 come from?
Initially it was that there was 12 attendees, and we had 12 sponsors there, and all the sponsors were related to what was being taught. North American Rescue, Surefire, those were all the guys that sponsored that initial event. And there was a bunch of marketing stuff behind it, and it took off, and people wanted to come. So it kind of became like a bullshit marketing thing. Like it was just like an easy name to turn into something, and we kept it. So we now have like a bunch of mantras that start with S, like we are selective of our thoughts and our friends. Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay. How many people do you have now that attend?
40 attendees. So there's 40 attendees. There are about 16 staff there. About half of those guys are instructors.
Are you already sold out for the November S12?
I think there's like 6 spots left for November.
Where would somebody find that if they want to go?
Carrytrainer.com. Carrytrainer.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you give out free gun oil there too?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. You can win stuff by being good and not sucking.
I was just trying to make a joke about the stuff at the coffee shop you never got paid back for.
I don't think. I try to give people free samples.
Yeah, it was never meant to be a free
It's
sample.
an honor to have our stuff on the shelves at Black Rifle, Kalispell, Montana. It's an honor.
Shop's doing well.
It looks good in there.
The summer months are pretty wild when school gets out on the East Coast, which is about a month earlier than the West Coast. We feel that bump there, but then when both are out, like right now, holy shit.
Everybody coming in for their drinks and muffins.
There's just a lot more people in the valley.
Yeah.
I think 2 million people pass through Glacier alone, and Flathead is Columbia Falls, up where you guys went rafting, is more the entryway into Glacier, but they pass through this area, either driving or through the airport.
Do you have to do any advertising?
I mean, is social media advertising?
You don't have like a billboard up that says drive into town?
I've thought about doing the billboards, or I'm not going to take credit for that. We have thought about doing the billboards.
It would be a brand new idea that nobody's ever done.
Though, you know where the place I want to do branding is at the luggage pickup at the airport.
Oh, there you go. That makes a lot of sense.
Which we've been trying to do for a year, and it's just slammed.
Just like the little cardboard things. With
so the airport is in a full remodel. So they just opened up the new section a few months ago, like world-class airport, but the other portion of it is still what it was before, which wasn't bad. It was just a smaller airport, and I think within a year that'll be done, and they're not doing any new branding in that luggage area until they rebuild it, and that it'll go onto a digital system versus their physical system. And I think, just based on my own experience of standing at luggage areas with nothing to do but look around, that'd probably be the best return on investment.
I've done a lot of billboards over the years. It's pretty hard to quantify those.
I was going to say, has your experience, did you notice an uptick at all, and how do you equate it directly to the billboard?
You don't, like all marketing. I have a friend that was a pretty high up sales rep for Clear Channel.
Clear Water?
No, Clear Channel.
Clear Channel where they do
Clear Channel Entertainment.
Yeah. They've got all their metrics, but I think it's like for me, like for our construction business, I would have them all over the county. And so it was just constantly seen for years and years. It was just out there,
Did you ever have people tell you they saw you on the billboard?
Yeah, for sure. We did radio ads for years too. And I had some good clients actually that I'm friends with to this day, 25 years later, that heard a radio ad.
How do you do your
you know
advertising?
what you could do, Andy?
What's that?
You can hand me a stack of stickers, and I'll just tag the airport up tonight when
I
you
was
drop me off
thinking
there.
the same thing. I was going to
solved.
suggest that.
Yeah.
We could just go start putting stuff on all the cars, yeah.
How do you advertise your hidden jiu-jitsu stuff? I feel like you hide
Mostly
it.
email lists, social media.
Yeah.
Cleared Hot podcast.
Cleared Hot.
He's been on before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been on it before.
I watched.
YouTube, we put out a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I have some stuff on BJJ Fanatics.
Your Instagram following is really starting to become more well followed, but people I see, because I read it and look at the stuff that you post, but it seems like people are starting to share and comment. And
I like the
all that
videos
jazz.
you do that you started doing maybe about a year ago.
The short
ones where you're breaking down the technique of what it is that you're doing.
little, yeah.
Yeah, I found
do this one
remember
little
me and you talking about doing that.
movement. What?
I think that idea came from me. I think I trademarked that idea.
Pre or post flashlight?
You invented it.
No, but those are good.
Yeah, I think they are. They're shareable too. I think that's kind of the key on some of those platforms.
Yeah.
Is something that's short, digestible, but people will click that share button and be like, hey, check this out.
And even if they don't learn, they're like, oh, who is this guy? Let me go
Yeah,
check.
sometimes watching like a 10-minute technique video is a little too much for people's attention span. It seems like people's attention spans are so short nowadays. They just want to like
Depends on
give
the
me
coach.
just one useful piece of information.
Depends on the coach. If you're going to open up and breaking down what the Socratic method is and then talk about how gravity works, it's tough to watch that leg lock video. I've heard he's one of the best coaches in the world, but goddamn, some of those instructionals are hard to get through.
Your new black belt, Mosen, he does those TikTok videos of like the
I'm not on TikTok.
don't do this and like
I'm not on
shows
TikTok
you the
either.
thing. I'm not either, but I've seen them before. He was pumping them out, I think, onto like YouTube Shorts during COVID. But it was like they're like 30 seconds, like showing you how to like properly lift a kettlebell, or and he'd be like, not this way, and then show you this way, and like a little bell would go off, like it would be like 30 seconds long. I think he got millions of people following him with those things.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't understand. I understand TikTok. I've just never been on the platform itself.
I think you got to have like a rabid brain to.
I've been on there once, and
scroll,
it's just
scroll.
like going down a rabbit hole. And it's just like I looked back up, and an hour had passed, and I'm like, "What the hell have I been doing? Just swiping
That is exactly
for an hour?" And
what
I'm
they
just
want
like,
you to do.
I'm done with this.
Digital cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you, Mickey? What do you got coming up that you're the most excited about for remainder of 2024? What do you
Supper
got?
with you.
I mean, we can broaden our horizon because we basically just had lunch at 5, so we're really on a fucked up eating schedule this trip.
We are. I'm happy to be moving. Probably going to cross state lines into
Out of Illinois.
Probably going to go into Wisconsin. I think just over the border.
How far is that from where you
10
live?
miles.
Would that allow you to own other things?
Illinois has got, and I've fought for years, and I feel like a loser, like quitting. But our state hates me. They hate
you or the things that you like?
They hate, yeah. I mean, like me as a citizen, the things that are important to me. I'm not even like a gun nut, but like the things that are normally owned by millions of Americans, my state is making them illegal, like California and other such places. So I'm going to go right over the border. I'm deeply connected to the jiu-jitsu gym that Dan owns, Heart Jiu-Jitsu in Woodstock, and he's building a new gym. I'm not trying to get away from there at all. Those are my people. So
when would you estimate that Dan's new gym will open?
It's close.
Let's drive some motherfuckers to that gym because
it's
that thing
close.
is awesome on the social posts.
I think that he'll be able to be open here by the end of the summer, like fully open. So, we're right after the 4th of July. I'm thinking next month he'll be open. I mean, he's probably say sooner, but
Yeah.
the mats are going in, the paintings are on the wall, the tiles on the floor. That place is sweet. You're going to come and do
I think we're gonna do like a grand opening celebration, probably October.
Yeah.
Second week of October.
bow to your sensei.
I like the lighting, the hexagon lighting. I actually ordered some for the new studio
really cool.
space. Yeah,
It's really cool.
I got ones that were dimmable at 3 different levels, which should help trying to find that right.
He's got a great eye for looking at crap in catalogs and
Yeah.
piecing it together like that. It looks
We
good.
can just tell with the way he builds out his restaurants.
Yeah. It looks great. There's so many cool features. The sauna's going to fit like 32 or 36 people we can fit in the sauna.
Yeah, that'll probably smell great.
Jeez.
Well, it's actually dialed in. Proper floor drains so we can hose her down.
Yeah.
It's going to have the little weight room in there, massage room.
Cold plunge.
Cold plunge. Yep.
Showers, lockers.
I think there's like 10 showers in there, so that's pretty nice. Plenty of shower space.
Red light therapy.
Red light therapy. Yep, all kinds of cool stuff. That not really many gyms are going to have all of those.
You know what we need to
features.
add there? Little Black Rifle Coffee barista station.
There you go.
If only we knew somebody.
There you go.
We'll get him dialed in. So moving is what you're looking forward to. What else you got?
I'm trying to do less. To
As
be
you
honest.
say that on the middle of a multi-week road trip.
Well, I can't speak for you guys, but I don't I don't need more stuff. I don't need more. I enjoy what we just did the last 4 or 5 days. Having time is what's the most valuable thing to me. I'm a grandfather now, for F's sake, so I want more time. So that's what I'm trying to streamline my life and be able to have more time to enjoy.
Henry, what do you got coming up you're excited about?
It's kind of like my year. I'm doing less.
Yeah.
You look better than I've ever seen you. Your muscles are peaking. You got a nice color.
That's what happens when you got to put yourself back out on the market.
Did you just
For
say
all
he has a
you-
nice color?
Got a nice color
For
to
all
him.
you single ladies out there,
Booking privates.
come slide into my DMs.
Well, you got time now too. I mean, we had to finagle you up here a little bit, but now you see how awesome it is. It's like, dude, get your ass up here more often.
Well, I got flown up here privately, but now that
By
you
the
guys let me in
Renaissance
the
man.
secret of Allegiant doing round trip
Don't ruin it.
flights from Vegas.
Well, the better they do, the more flights they'll do.
Okay.
round trip flights from Vegas for $200 round trip on Allegiant.
It was a secret to even me, and I live up here.
I saw them landing here the other day. I didn't know they came up here.
I think it's within the last few months, and I think that's why it was a secret to me. I remember, I believe, seeing that they had a. I guess you bid for parking spots. I don't know how it works, but I remember seeing that they were awarded one. I had no idea that they were coming from Vegas, which is
Anyways, I'll be
optimal.
coming up more often.
Yeah.
I love me some Montana.
Are you actually putting like a subliminal message to the ladies that are listening to this?
It wasn't subliminal,
Wasn't
actually.
subliminal.
But I mean,
at
are
all.
you making you try to come off like it was comical? But like, are you really trying to?
Henry Akins, BJJ. Henry Akins, BJJ.
That's what I was going for right there. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we got to get Henry to the airport here relatively soon. What else did you guys want to cover?
No, man.
You said you were talking about stuff on the way up here. Now you have nothing to
Now,
offer.
I mean, like when you say it like that, nothing to offer. I think there's always stuff to offer. I don't know about that.
that wasn't like a grand statement. I meant as like you said you had stuff to talk about. Now you can't remember.
No, it wasn't that. I mean, we've kind of bounced around so many topics.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I know.
Who wants to have a conversation that's like only linear?
No, that wasn't what I meant. How about this? How do you continue to train and not get destroyed as my hair goes grayer and not end up broken? And this is more of a...
I can tell you all about this. I've never gotten hurt doing jiu-jitsu. Can't raise my
But,
right
like,
arm right now.
This is the juxtaposition. Like even what I do, what guys weightlifting. I got friends that are like, doing CrossFit games and all that crap, and they're constantly destroying themselves. Like, where is the fine line? Where do we find this balance point? Because we're doing it to be fit and have fun and not be slung up.
I mean, all the rolls I had yesterday were awesome, and the roll I was having when I dislocated my shoulder was not gnarly. It wasn't like crazy aggressive. I think it was just the angle of pull. It was just fucking weird.
So don't do jujitsu.
Positional training, I think, is huge. Like just doing positional training because it doesn't allow the escalation and it's not as chaotic as just a free roll.
Oh, because
But,
you reset if you get out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then just having the right training partners, picking the right training partners.
So that's like a wisdom thing, though. Like if you don't know, or this is what I got this group of dudes.
That's the reason you have a coach.
But you're not really just trying to edify me there. I was trying to like pump this out there for people that were trying to
Yeah. Well, I mean, your coach should be
helping
kind of
you.
directing. Yeah. I mean, and you want to find a good gym. So if you are at a gym where they're training super intense and super hard, like competition style training, and you're worried about your, not getting injured, that's probably not the place for you. Right. There's a certain, and that's the thing. I keep that, like I mentioned earlier, like I keep getting better every year, but at our age, so I'm 49, it's all about skill development. It's not about, like, you don't need the intense workout anymore. It's more, how do you develop the precision in your technique? And you don't need to go hard every training to develop that. It's more timing and sensitivity, not going hard at a high level of intensity.
I think you have to define the end state, like the friends doing the CrossFit games.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be competitive at that, you're going to blow your body out, and you're not going to be able to work out like that in your 40s and 50s, and you shouldn't. But if that's what you want to do in your 20s, there's only one way you're going to get there, and that's by going pretty crazy. Not in a bad way, but like fully dedicated to doing that and working out that hard. I think if you define your end state, you want more longevity, maybe do the movements, but you modulate the intensity, like Henry's talking about.
It seems like, it's easy to say coaching, training partners, not that you just made it a flippant response to that, but this sport's blown up. Every town's it's like Taekwondo when we were kids was everywhere, and people don't know what they don't know. I mean, it's pretty intense how easy it is to get jacked up. And then guys don't come back, right? I know a handful of black belts that haven't trained or don't train at all because they had something like what just happened, and then they're like, F this, I can't go to work, or
Yeah.
can't afford to not feel my fingers.
Yeah, it's not optimal, but also I bet there's still a risk of injury even in positional training. I mean, it is grappling. Let's not forget that for sure. Just like in the CrossFit, if you're playing that game, and I don't mean that in a negative way in any stretch, I've been around plenty of people who fuck themselves up from a hobbyist perspective, just working on fitness and longevity.
Sure.
So, nothing is without risk.
Even weightlifting, where it's very
that's what I'm saying. There's nothing without risk.
Like people are blowing and tearing stuff. So
a couple people die every year dropping bench press on their face.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess. Did you compete in CrossFit stuff when you were involved?
I finished 10th at the first games.
Wow.
There was only 9 competitors. But
No, did you?
yeah.
How many people competed?
I don't know, like 50. Like right before I asked Dave, I was like, hey, do you mind if I hop in on the rower? He was just like, fuck, I don't care. Good. Totally impromptu.
And just kick some ass.
No. The athletes just were not as good as they are now.
Okay.
Yeah. They did not kick ass.
They
10th,
refined it.
10th place is not on the podium. I'm not sure what podiums you use.
Well, if this was the first CrossFit Games, you're in the top 10.
Yeah, out of the 50 people in the fucking world doing CrossFit, I mean, let's not make it into something that it's not.
I kind of like the way I phrased it better.
Yeah. I enjoy the methodology. I had issues with the leadership of the organization.
Never done it. Always seems goofy to me watching some of the stuff, but
Some of it is goofy.
yeah.
And again, you have to ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to compete and exercise, or I'm doing this because I want to be fit and capable into my 80s?
Yeah.
Same movements, but it's a really, really different
How
end
you're
state.
executing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine jiu-jitsu is largely
which is
the same way.
the similar mindset like that you need to have in jiu-jitsu. Like, hey, I want to train and I want to develop a skill and I want to be able to do this into old age. And I think a lot of people don't have that mindset, like the longevity mindset.
Makes sense.
Where can people find you?
CarryTrainer.com.
How
Carry
about on
Trainer.
socials?
Carry Trainer on Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Henry, where can people find you?
HiddenJujitsu.com or at Henry Akins BJJ, ladies.
There you go. Anything else you guys want to close with in particular? I'll put the links up in the show notes.
I really appreciate you spending the time to talk with us, and it was really good visiting with you and your family.
Yeah, it was awesome to have you guys up. Like I said, we're not out there that often, and it's like a hidden gem just in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
So,
How can we help you?
I don't know. I don't like questions like that.
Buy more coffee.
Yeah, I feel like you're disingenuous in that question. I feel like you're trying to figure out a way to screw me over.
You guys do have the best merch of any coffee place that I've ever been to.
I'm telling
Besides the nicest coffee shop that I've ever been to in my life, you guys have like the best merch. I like literally was like, I'll take that shirt. Oh, that hoodie is badass. Like, I'll take that shirt. I'll take that shirt.
I've changed my mind on what we have.
I went Christmas shopping.
We're not a coffee shop that sells merchandise. We're a merchandise shop that has a coffee bar.
I heard you say that. It's true.
I literally stocked up for Christmas, so yeah.
Why? But it's a destination location. Like Kalispell in and of itself. The coffee shop, if people are into the brand, for sure. We built it large to have that ability. And like this summer, we actually put a lot of planning into it. Like every week we have new shirts coming out. We have a couple in the works right now for the same thing. People, you go to, I mean, I have like 5 Starbucks mugs, like Oklahoma, like one from, like,
Sure.
It's this impulse buy that you 100% don't need, but I'm super stoked to facilitate that for people.
So, new shirts every week?
New shirts every week during the summertime. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got one being made with like the Bronco background right now. We were going to do one with a grizzly bear with a mounted 50 cal in its back with the raccoon standing there shooting it.
I'll be back next week. Just make sure you have extra large.
Yeah, that one was a very expensive quote on the multiple layers of ink.
colors.
So it's like we're going to back that one off just a bit. Maybe we'll do stickers.
You gonna end up making your own shirts in the basement or something?
No, the guy I used for the podcast is right up here. He owns a 12-ounce Profit. He has, if you ever want to go see ridiculously high-end apparel setup, I'll introduce you to him.
Yeah,
He
I'd
does
love
it
to.
all from up here. Holy shit. It's a I was going to say it's a nondescript warehouse. It's a very nicely designed architectural building, but you would never know what's inside of there. Everything from like automatic folding, labeling, individual packaging that I can't even describe, like, the application and like the huge circular stuff he's got going on in there, embroidery shop. It's badass.
That sounds cool. It's weird he's out here.
I think
So far off the beaten path.
I might be messing this up a little bit, but I know he came from New York. He was doing work with a lot of major agencies, and I don't think he intended to actually do that out here. I think he was kind of looking for a place to escape that kind of hustle and bustle, but fell back into it. When I first started making T-shirts with him, he was making them in a, I don't want to call it his garage because that's probably not accurate. He had an outlying building with like an apartment, like a small warehouse, we'll call it, very small. And I think he had a 6 T-shirt, one of those 6 T-shirt or 9 T-shirt circular things where, you know, you come down and move the ink. Again, I don't know what the fuck, if that is any of that is correct.
About it either.
So I know it moved in a circle. Yeah, I know it moved in a circle. I'm 100% accurate on that. I don't know if it was counterclockwise or clockwise. But then he went big. The stuff in there, the automation that he has in there is wild.
I love seeing that stuff.
Yeah. I'll take you guys up there next time.
I know what I wanted to talk about, which I don't want to take a bunch of time,
No,
but
it's
I
fine.
think it's
We have
valuable.
time. Yeah.
I think it's valuable, and we started. It's why I wasn't thinking about it, because you brought up some political stuff. You put a video out recently talking about, I guess you could say politics, right? You were talking about
Getting people to vote.
right?
Yeah.
And the pushback is often like, it doesn't matter. You're a fucking fool if you think voting matters, which is such a horseshit way of
But 100% matters.
yeah, of course it does. And it matters from the city council of Kalispell, Montana, to the police chief, even though they're appointed by the city council usually, or some police commission, sheriff, state's attorney, whatever. All that stuff matters. And our country, it's easy, especially, I'm going to say this space, like you were just talking about the merch over here, and I was laughing, thinking about my mom coming in there. She'd think it was nice, but my mom would be like, do you have anything with like violets on it, you know, or something like that, you know, like not.
We're not for everybody.
Right. But that's that audience, and that audience, they love this gun sitting next to us. They love all this stuff, and we've got this idea of like people call me bootlicker because I think you should vote. Like, wait, that means that I'm licking the boot of like the redcoats or something because I think that there's a political process. And so
That's a mental leap.
yeah, it's a huge mental leap, and I find it quite disconcerting. I find it insulting, not just to me, but to the people that are out there doing stuff. And most politics is extremely boring. Most of it is, let me say, most government is extremely boring, not politics, because that's gamesmanship. But the people on your county board or the shit that a state's attorney or a sheriff does, most of it's really boring stuff, not to put anybody down, but it's not, you know, secret meetings and stuff. It's worried about whether or not chickens are going to be allowed in town or whether or not we're going to get the budget to fix the roads. And somebody's got to do that shit, or we live in a third world shithole. And I feel like people like you, like me, like Henry, that get to talk to people, we got to like reinvigorate in folks this mindset that the republic is ours. And it's scary. I got grandkids. You're going to have grandkids. That we will leave the world with groups of people that just think like this shit just proliferates without any work. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that's stuff I was thinking about.
Yeah. You know, people saying it doesn't matter, or, you know, their vote doesn't count. That mentality, all that does is actually help the people that are in power who want to stay in power.
Yeah.
And I think almost any downstream problem that we have in our day-to-day life here, like my normal day-to-day life locally, the things I personally encounter, I can upstream that towards elected officials at some level. Mm-hmm. And you're never going to change that shit unless you get involved. And I was being dead serious when I made that video. I actually don't give a fuck who people vote for. But
I saw comments people said to you like, "There's something fucking wrong with you if you don't give a fuck." Like,
I mean, there's something wrong with a lot of people, but I don't think the ability for somebody to vote for what they believe in makes me a bad person.
that's the whole point of all of this.
Yeah. I you know, it's still to this day, I'll go back to like being a first responder at a car wreck, which I've been in a few times, which I'm not looking for again. But every one of the times it has happened, I did not go to the back of the car to look at what bumper sticker they had first. Mm-hmm. Just like, this is somebody who needs help and I'm going to help them. I think we're still at that place. I don't think people are bumper, you know, sticker checking yet, but if it continues down this path, maybe it would get like that. And then I think we're totally fucked. Like, if we wouldn't help our neighbor because they have a particular sign or sticker on their car, I don't think that we're there yet. But if people don't participate, I think we could get there.
I was involved in an election. I've told this story many times. It was a sheriff's race, one of the largest counties in Illinois. And people don't care about that stuff until it affects them. The sheriff is the chief
law enforcement.
Thank you, officer. A state's attorney might argue that they are, but whatever. In a county, and they have a lot of sway on a legislative level too. Like state reps and shit go to local sheriffs because they have yank politically in the community. Anyway, we had a piece of shit sheriff in our community, and a bunch of the guys that were friends of mine wanted to get involved, didn't know how, so I helped. We put a guy up. We won, and this is where that recount I talked about earlier, it was like a couple hundred votes in a county of hundreds of thousands of people. And it came down to, like, if you didn't go and tell your buddies at the job site and you didn't tell your buddies at the gym to vote, he wouldn't have won, which you're like, okay, whatever, it's some small town sheriff. Well, I mean, that stuff matters because the sheriff that came in there is affecting thousands of families and millions of dollars of budgets and, you know, all kinds of shit like that. I've tried to help a guy in Harris County, Texas, which is Houston. I think it's the second largest sheriff's office, maybe the third in the country. His name's Joe Dana. And Joe should have won a couple of times. He's a great dude. He's a lifelong lawman. I don't know the exact number, but it's like the budget of a small state, the sheriff's office. It's ridiculous. And I shouldn't say ridiculous. It's a fantastic just amount of resources that these offices have control of, and then people don't go out and vote. And those that do vote are like completely motivated by something, or they're paid to, or they're being picked up in buses and being brought to vote. So it does fucking matter.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have any deep thoughts on any of that stuff?
The last couple elections I voted because as I've gotten older, the issues have become so much more important to me. And also just seeing what's going on in the country. I mean, living in LA, just seeing how political decisions have deteriorated the city. It made it so much more apparent to me that your vote matters. Like who you're putting into office matters. So yeah, I mean, I never voted my whole life, but the last few elections I did vote because I realized, like, hey, if I don't stand up, if I don't do something, I'm going to be like everyone else. I'm just basically bending over and I can't be mad at who gets elected.
It's the same thing when you stop to help somebody on the side of the road. If I don't stop, who's gonna? Like other people, somebody else will deal with this. All the other people go and do it. I keep hearing this theme in the community of like gun people. It's if you think voting's going to fix this, you're nuts. And they've got this like idea. I don't align with this, but there's this idea like it's going to be violence. Like that's the fix is violence. If you think voting's is going to fix this, it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to take your AR and your little plate carrier and go frickin' shoot at Apache helicopters on the side of the hill?
Having been there when people have attempted that.
Yeah, it just sounds...
Let me just tell you how that works out. It's gazpacho. You fucking turn into human salsa.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a good idea. Which I think if there was truly a need to like overthrow tyrannical government, our founders created a space for that to happen. But that's like the same logic of like, you're fat and out of shape, so fuck it, just smoke. It's like, you know, if you think this one thing like voting is going to fix it, like just eat whatever, do whatever, because nothing matters. And like you're just waiting for Jesus to fix you or something. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, you got to get involved.
I saw that video had a bunch of interaction and things like that. Did you get any like compelling private messages or anything from people?
Mostly just people saying thanks for being non-political in your desire to get people involved. Which I think, honestly, if political organizations wanted to get more participation, stop pushing your specific fucking agenda and just push getting people involved. Let them make the choice that they want to make as opposed to telling them. It's because people turn it off. We live in a world where we're just bombarded with advertisements and people trying to get something from you. I think you can recognize it really easily, and people are just like, nope, not interested. I'm not interested in telling people what to think. I like the idea of bringing up things for them to think about, which I stole from Sebastian Junger. You know, his thought is the role of the press is not it's not to tell people what to think, but to illuminate for them what they could be thinking about.
I like that.
Yeah, that's not verbatim. It's a little bit.
I've heard that quote. Yeah, it's nice.
Which is the opposite of what our media does.
Yeah, this is toe this line or else you're a piece of shit.
Which I think is largely one of the reasons why they're losing sway with so many people. People are just like, yeah, you're full of shit.
I have for years, I'm not Karl Rove or anything or one of these top political minds, but I don't know if we've ever lost a campaign that we've worked on collectively, the group of guys and girls I know. And I've told people if they're trying to do something, send me a message. I'm not going to like be able to donate 1,000 hours a month, but I think most people kind of like just miss the boat on like kind of like starting a business. If you don't know anything about it, like what do I do? Do I start a website? Do I get an LLC? So they don't know what to do. But it's like you said a moment ago, what's the desired end state? For me, it's the proliferation of the republic. So what's that look like if I pull the viewfinder back and like having shitty people in office doesn't fit? Or if you don't like what's on your school board, who's running for school board? Or if you don't like who's on the fire commission, who's on the fire commission? Who's running? Why are they on there? It takes time though, and it's like TV is important to me, or jiu-jitsu is important, so people have to prioritize it.
All right, everybody. Ladies, hit Henry up.
I hope your inbox.
Henry Akins, BJJ.
We're going to leave it at that.
Is that really the inbox? Dude, there's going to be so many dick pics in there.
Slide into
There's
my
going to be
DMs.
so many dick pics in there.